It was now 1954, and Victor Francis was 46 years old, and Myrtle Bell was 43 years old. He had been a San Diego police officer and vice squad officer for at least 8 years, from 1942 to 1950. And then he became an owner of a bail bond business. He was also prospering by his association with Tony Mirabile, and their future looked very bright. Victor Charles was now 15 years old and attending at St. Augustine High School in the 10th grade. David Francis was 7 years old and attending at the Mission Beach Elementary School on Mission Boulevard. Tony Edwards would soon be going to La Jolla High School as well. My father, Sonny, was 26 years old and was in his second year of being a La Mesa police officer. My mother, Hilda, was 23 years old and taking care of my two sisters, Teresa, 5 years old, and Renee, 2 years old, and me at 1 year old. My mother's half-brother, Lynn Allen Golden, was 30 years old and was married to Mary, and they had 2 sons, Steve and John, and both under 5 years old. They had a beautiful home next to Point Loma, near downtown San Diego at 1769 Redondo Street. My mother's sister, Agnes, was 21 years old and married to Kenneth G. Brown, and they had 1 son, Neil, who was under 1 year old and living at 6211 Danbury Way in San Diego, California. Aunt Sylvia Brittenbach was my grandma Mert's older sister, and she was 48 years old, and her son Carl Brittenbach was 28 years old, and they lived together in South Mission Beach at 2887 Strand Way on the oceanfront walk-off of Gabriel Place. They were only a 2-minute drive away from the Buono house on Mission Bay. My Aunt Mary Jane Morris was 31 years old, and Melvin Ward Morris was 34 years old in 1954, and their son Larry Ward Morris was 5 years old. They lived at 3544 Ethan Allen Avenue near Mission Beach, up on a hill off the Marina Boulevard and horizontal with San Diego Freeway 5. They soon would have 2 daughters, Vicki Morris in 1955 and Carla in 1957. Last but not least, my great-grandmother, Granny Grants, was 67 years old then and married to Pete Baldovich, who was 70 years old. Anthony Edwards, who I always called him Uncle Tony, told me a few years back that when his mother died in 1954 and he went to live with the Buono family, he thought 15 years old Victor Charles might have been gay. Tony didn't ever embellish or give any further details about that thought, and I didn't ask any questions either, because I always believed that my Uncle Victor Charles was gay, and it didn't bother me at all. To this very day, many people still wonder if he was gay. It's not the 1940s anymore when Victor Francis was a San Diego vice squad officer, busting men when seeing them standing in dark corners of a bar kissing and hugging each other. I can just imagine how Victor Charles might have felt like if he heard his father talking about homosexual sailors and Marines who he may have busted and dragged downtown to the county jail at night. If he ever heard his father saying the word homosexual in a negative way, it might have felt like a knife sticking deeply in his heart. If he was gay, then he most likely kept his personal secrets buried far away from his father and everyone else in the family. When I was growing up, the words homosexual, gay, faggot, fairy, and queer were never pointed at Victor Charles. It was a closed book, and no one was allowed to open it up and read it. When Victor Charles went to Hollywood, every critic or journalist never wrote any descriptions of his sexuality. He was protected by the studios where he worked at because he was a star and he was making them money. And that is how Hollywood shielded nasty secrets for actors and actresses from their motion picture fans. I'm bringing this gay topic up early because I believe my Uncle Victor Charles would want it this way. Due to the ultra-conservative times in the early 1950s and 1960s regarding homosexuality, it forced Victor Charles to remain silent and non-transparent of being gay.